So I've been on the Abbeyfield board for a number of years, and I feel really strongly about the model. I think it's a model that Canadians need and deserve, and very happy to promote the growth of Abbeyfield and support our existing members, and that's kind of what we're doing today. We've been running a series of these type of webinars or open forums to kind of share best practices across the country from house to house, and hopefully, everyone can pick up a tidbit or something that they'll learn today from the others on the call that will help them with the management of their house. So I think that as Rhonda mentioned, we should probably quickly go around the screen, as it were, and introduce ourselves so we get to know where folks are coming from. So I'm not sure which order. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just go with the order that I see on my screen. So up next, beside me, I see Sylvia. So Sylvia, do you want to say hello?
Hi, everybody. I'm from Prince Albert, Abbeyfield, the president of the board there.
Thanks. So yeah, great. And then we got JP.
Hi, folks. JP Melville, Executive Director, Abbeyfield Canada. Really pleased to see a whole wide range of people here today. Yeah, supporting the membership and working on growing the organization.
Super. Thanks, JP. I think most people will know you from all the work you've been doing over the last few years and your visits across the country. Good to see you. Larry.
Let me unmute. Good morning, all. I'm from Vancouver, Houses of British Columbia Society. We have two houses. Even though they're connected together, there are still two houses in Vancouver. I'm working extremely hard with my fabulous, operative, active, and dedicated board to raise the bar of Abbeyfield, and I'm here to learn more ways how to do that. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Super. Thanks very much, Larry. That's great. Bill, Central Canada.
Little trouble getting unmuted there.
Sorry.
I'm treasurer of National, so I know Tim, of course, very well, and JP and Rhonda. And I'm also the treasurer of the Toronto Abbeyfield House.
Great. Thanks, Bill. Good to see you. Ian, you're on the sunny beach there somewhere.
Yes, I'm actually in Richmond, British Columbia. I'm part of Larry's board, and climate change has happened.
Okay, good to see you, Ian. Okay, Megan.
Hi, my name is Megan Lachesh. I'm from Abbeyfield, Ottawa. I'm their vice president. I'm fairly new to the team, and I live in Lunenburg, Ontario.
Great to see you, Megan. Hopefully I'll be able to catch up with you in the near future, given that you're very close by. All right, Agnes.
Hi, I'm just here to observe. I am the representing provisional house, Abbeyfield Polonia House. So we don't have yet the inflationary problems. We are looking for it right now. So hopefully I learned something from you all. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Agnes. Good to meet you. And then, sorry, the gentleman, I see iPad. I don't know your name.
Yeah, hi. I was trying to change that. It's Tim. It's Gord Gunning. I'm the vice chair of Abbeyfield Canada. Good to be here.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Gord. So you must know Bill pretty well.
know Bill and Joe McReynolds even better.
Oh, good. Sorry. Yeah, Joe's been a big asset getting him on involved on the national board. We're really happy to have his insights.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, Gord. From Durham, we have Doug Townsend.
Yes, hi, I'm Doug Townsend. I'm a board member of Abbeyfield in Durham, and looking forward to finding out some information today. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Doug. And another Caledon rep, we have Chris Blackmere.
Hi, folks. I'm Chris. I'm the treasurer of Abbeyfield Caledon. I'm now in the 9th year of my sentence to that post. Thanks for getting me involved, Jim.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Next, we have Bill Ratcliffe. We can't see you, Bill, but we can hopefully hear you.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't want to see me. Treasurer for Abbeyfield Lakefield. We're still trying to get approval to build a building on the property that we have.
That's right. Yeah, thanks, Bill. JP's been keeping us up to date on your deliberations and the work that's going on. So it looks like an excellent project, and wish you all the best as it moves forward.
Thank you.
Then my old friend Jim Galloway. Sorry, Jim, you're muted.
Sorry, and for Johnny Lay, Jim Galloway, Abbeyfield, Ottawa, currently.
And that was old as if I've known you a long time. I'm not implying anything there, Jim. Okay, and beside on my screen, I've got Linda Dryden from BC. Linda?
Hi, I'm Linda Dryden from Sydney, St. Andrew's House. I'm the chair there. I'm also on the Abbeyfield Canada board.
Great, thanks, Linda. And then Judy. So we can't hear you, Judy. I think, oh, there you go. Oh, still can't hear you. Okay. Yeah, sorry, Judy. We'll catch up with you later, I guess. So Rhonda, I see I think that's everybody, right? I think everyone's accounted for.
I think we've got everyone.
So,
Judy, you might, yeah, if you've muted now, do you want to try to unmute and see if that connects to your speakers or your microphone? Try again. No, we're not hearing you.
It seemed to work.
You might need to turn off and turn on again from the Zoom.
Okay, well, why don't we kick it off here? So it's good to see a number of treasurers with us today. So I think people get sort of the idea of what we're going to try and share today. You know, obviously the last couple of years have been really stressful on all the houses with the inflation. You know, the whole country's, well, the whole world, Western world is feeling the effects of inflation. But I think when you run a nonprofit organizations like we do, you have to be, you know, extra careful and diligent with the money of your members. So we thought today we would kind of go around the table and kind of share best practices and see if there's any tips we could learn from one another in terms of reducing our costs. So there's kind of three areas we thought we could cover today. The first one being food. The second one being sort of other operating expenses, like insurance, staffing costs, things like that. And the third being kind of related, but talking about employee assistance programs, looking at ways we can help retain staff, you know, with added benefits. Gord mentioned Joe McReynolds, and he's a big advocate of having employee assistance programs to kind of relieve the stress that some of the staff are feeling at this time, and provide, you know, sort of incentives and extra motivation for them. So we'll start off on the subject of food. We've had indications from a number of houses on different methods they're using to mitigate their rising food costs. Things like buying in bulk, having food delivered. So what I thought we'd do is open it up and just see if anyone's come up with any sort of innovative ways. And sorry, we talked about muting for dogs, and you can hear my dogs in the background. So I'll mute and I'll just open it up and see if anybody has any Larry, you want to lead us out?
Sure. It's something that we have to be aware of, and not necessarily rest on the model we've created. I'll give you one example. I know that local dairies, for instance, will be cooperative, and all they have to do is really be asked. We have one of our local dairies that's been around for about 115 years. I happen to know the owner very well, and I just called. I said, I want to have us treated like your largest distributors and wholesalers, because they usually work through distribution companies, and we've been getting #1 delivery, which saves money, and we get the 7% margin discount that the grocery stores get, and that's worked out very well. And I'm going to be looking at other areas as well. There is a grocery store who deal with, and I think you're going to find this all over Canada now. They deal with, when I say substandard, they call them ugly fruits and vegetables. You know, that just have odd shapes and things like that, and we dump so many of those things that there are certain stores specializing in that, and the discount on them is fantastic. It's just tremendous. I'm working on that right now. So I just want everybody to be aware of it, and look up ugly produce, and you'll get a tremendous amount of information on it. And that's what we're doing. But if you look at the rise in costs that have gone on, and it seems to be continuing, it is a major issue, of course. By the way, gardens are a tremendous idea as well. We put in 4 raised gardens last summer, very, very successful. And we have a longer growing season here, I guess, than some other parts of Canada, but we're looking for at least two crops a year here.
Great ideas, Larry. On the third one there in the gardens, is it the house members that tend to the gardens, or do you have other volunteers that look after them?
We have other volunteers who just love it. They retired people from the area. We have you know, just to be careful with the asset, we make sure that we have somebody regularly watering it, things like that. But the rest, the harvesting, the trimming, etc., absolutely. You know, it is a very popular hobby, and people just love to get involved, and it's a great way to bring in volunteers. And once they're volunteering in the garden, you could sort of treat that as a perk because they like it so much. It's the old Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer area. You know, you make painting the fence a perk, and everybody wants to do it. It's a great way of interesting people, because it's a very popular hobby for people. Yeah, good point, Tim. It's a good way to bring in volunteers and bring them into other aspects of the houses.
Yeah, great. That's excellent. And in terms of this, does anyone else do that? Either work with a dairy or able to access substandard fruits and vegetables? I think that's a wonderful idea. I mean, you know, when you go to the grocery store and you see all these perfectly shaped and genetically modified fruits and vegetables, you kind of wonder, you know, how can they possibly all look like that? But I think, you know, it's great that you're able to take advantage of the ones that maybe aren't as perfect. Bill?
Yes, this isn't dairy, but it is meat. At Toronto, we have linked in with a butcher shop, a local butcher shop, a small local butcher shop, and that is working really well for us. We place a meat order there once a month, and so he knows the different type of things that we like, and so it works out really well for us, and he delivers it to the house, And I think it has saved us very well. I think it gives us a decent seniors discount, knowing that we are a seniors low-cost organization. So I guess it's similar to the dairy that Larry has. Some of these local places can be very, very helpful.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gayla, Abbeyfield, Port Alberni.
Hi there.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
I'd like to introduce, excuse me, Judy Anderson, who
Yeah.
is our house manager and primary cook in Prince Albert. And she's joined us for the discussions today. Hi, Judy.
Hi, everyone. I had to
Hi,
switch
Judy.
to my iPad.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Judy. And
Nice to meet
Gayla, nice to see you too. Yeah, thanks, Bill. Another good idea for meets. Larry, you got a question, right?
Yeah, and just to get back to what Bill said, why don't we all go and follow Bill's path, but also go and see a bakery and ask them for the same thing. I know that here there's a chain called Cobb's that part of their advertising and publicity is that at the end of the day they give everything that's left over to nonprofit organizations.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I'm sure these organizations can benefit with their own brands by supporting Abbeyfield, right? Like if they can
That's a big point.
put
Yes.
something on their wall when you come in, we support Abbeyfield Society in Vancouver or wherever.
Correct.
Anybody have any, there's Joe, nice to see you, Joe. Anybody have any luck with dry goods? I mean, buying bulk, things like breads or cereals, that kind of thing?
In the past, we have received through the Shelter Foundation that's just up the road from us. They get lots of stuff from Costco. So when they get a abundance of supplies like that, they will share with us. They'll call us to come and get some of it. But Costco also dispenses of a lot of stuff that isn't being used, cereals and breads and things like that.
And when you're dealing with them, who do you speak to at the store? Do you just go and ask for the general manager and say and introduce yourself as a nonprofit?
I'm assuming that's what you would do. The Shelter Society, when they get food from Costco, they come bring it back to town and share it with us in Port Alberni. So
Okay,
there's
good.
always lots of bread and cereal that they're getting rid of.
Yeah. And as I think who mentioned it, inflation has come down a little bit overall, but food prices haven't. I mean, they continue to rise, so we're going to continue to face these challenges. So some great ideas on dairy, on meat, dry goods. Anybody else have any sort of tidbits they want to share of what they're doing, buying bulk or getting access to reduce pricing, like on the seconds, I guess, vegetables and fruits?
Doug, maybe Doug Townsend, maybe you could talk about our foods program that we were using.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, not a problem. Thanks. Yeah, mine's kind of an interesting story because I ended up at Abbeyfield for a number of months, 7 or 8 months, as being looking after the office at the house there. That's how I
Take it easy.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, all right, I'm going to excuse and get a drink of water.
Okay, I'll let Doug go get a drink of water. Yeah, so I think there's already some good ideas that we can take away, start to approach some of our local businesses and tap into their generosity and I think they're, and as I mentioned, I think, quite often you go to the local establishments and they'll have pictures of the hockey team or a soccer team that they support. Why not support Abbeyfield? We can find ways to tap into their goodwill. I think, part of it is letting people know about Abbeyfield, right? Because I don't think people are really familiar with Abbeyfield on a broad scale. And if we can, educate them with the story, I think that, more than likely they'd be willing to help. And even if they're, providing food at cost, it's going to be, very beneficial. Oh, Doug, you're back. Do you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot this time. Sorry about that, folks. Yeah, I started at Abbeyfield in the office in Durham. And when I was there, because we are, we're more rural, so we're closest to Costco or anything like that is, an hour and 15 minutes away. So we were using the local grocery store there. And what I was noticing, or what we discovered is, we're a small town, one grocery store, and, they were giving us, great service and everything, but it just, the prices and everything like that. So we reached out and started investigating buying groups like Complete Food and SGP groups and stuff like that to see, and that's how we could tap into we got to deal with Complete, but then that opened the door for us to buy through like Cisco Foods as a food distributor, and they deliver right to the house. And we found that really cut our overall food expense immensely, because again, you can buy in the large quantities, you can buy your cereals and all that stuff in bulk. The meat was in bulk, and those sorts of things. So we've found a kind of a combination of using the buying groups and going through, say, Cisco Foods and those companies, along with local produce companies up here that can deliver more fresh produce on a weekly basis. And then also we're fortunate that our house mothers are really good at watching for specials and buying stuff. One of our house mothers used to run her own restaurant, and another one of our house mothers also has a catering business. So they have an eye for the specials and where to pick up the right, cuts of meat and what's on sale and whatnot. So it's kind of you got to use, in our case anyway, you use kind of a broad approach, a broad way of looking at things. And I think everybody's in the same boat in every house across Canada. With the prices nowadays, you've really got to be looking at where your best deals are. But also, I guess one thing to look at, and this goes back to the, talking to the dairies and the butchers and stuff like that, is the closer you can get to the manufacturer, the better your price is going to be. There's less fingers in the pie. So we're lucky from the standpoint where we live in rural Ontario, that there's lots of farms where farmers in the area that do their own, or could sell us beef or pork or whatever out of their own herds. So and then goes through a slaughterhouse and gets, but it eliminates a lot of extra, as I say, fingers in the pie that add to that markup. So again, the closer you can get to the actual manufacturer, the better off our prices are going to be. And there again, maybe looking, it's something that I think probably each house has to look at individually and in their own areas. But a lot of that stuff, as much as you like buying supplies and stuff, you like shopping local and everything too. But when you get into even your office supplies and stuff like that, you know, the Amazons of the world are probably are good deals for bringing in some of that stuff too. So again, just some of those deals. But as I say, at the Durham, it was getting on with the food groups and getting on to Cisco, and also through the food groups like Complete. They also have their fingers into a lot of other companies, so they can give you pricing on furniture, on, you know, carpets, on elevator service. They have a whole host of different parts that are involved in their buying group. So that's just something that we've done, and it seems to be working. Thanks.
Doug, I had a couple of questions in relation to using Cisco. We had looked at that type of company, but we found that their amounts were simply not realistic for us. We couldn't get smaller quantities of anything.
We have to do a $500 purchase. So we have to do a $500 order to get it delivered to the house. So basically we were doing that like once a month type of thing, or twice a month, depending on when it was. But that's what we found. Now I don't know what capacities everybody else has in their homes, but we've got, help me, Rhonda, what do we got? About 4 or 5 freezers and cold storage room. So we've got a lot of space for storing stuff. I'm not sure what other houses have as far as storage and capacity that way. But and the other thing that we found too, just a heads up that we've run into in the last little while with freezers, is we've actually gone to stand-up freezers. Our staff like the stand-up freezers a lot better for being able to see what's there and where it is. And we also ran into, as we like to joke with some of our staff, are vertically challenged, and it saved them falling into a freezer or something when they're trying to fish something out of the bottom. So again, that may be something when you're talking capacity wise or order sizes. Something that you have to take into effect also is how much space you've got for storage.
It wasn't even so much the $500 minimum, it was the size of the cans and the amount of individual items that you had to order at any given time. Some of which, you know, are perishable once they're opened.
And Doug, I'd like to ask, how large is the house that you're referring to?
We're generally feeding 15 to 17 individuals.
Okay.
Yeah, I see Larry has his hand up.
You're on mute, Larry.
Yeah, I'm going to put my hand up once in a while because I'm just writing wild notes here. On the minimum order problem, which of course is combined with the volume problem, it's very simple, Doug, to get together with somebody with a similar problem and order and split the order in two. I do this very often because it solves 2 or 3 problems at the same time. There's plus, if you're a little bit under, you could pressure them to because of the fact that we are a nonprofit. And also, Tim, going back to one of your original statements when you talked about a model, I think that a letter of introduction that's standard to bring to these people in the grocery stores and the Overweightias. We use Overweightia for our orders. They're a very big national distributor, and we work very well with them. but you've got to, it's a continuing process. You've got to keep watching the prices. But on that model letter that we can all use, as we're successful, we can keep adding those corporation names to it. And it's like priming the pump, you know, once it gets going, people will get to know us and wonder why they didn't know about us when these other corporate names are on the letterhead we're sending, thanking them for their contribution. So the model, when you say model, it's a very important factor here. And rather than reinventing the wheel every time, every success we have, we should share with you, and let's all benefit from this.
Yeah, what a great idea, Larry. You know, I don't know if you have a letter now, but maybe you can share it, or we could produce one. But I think that's something we could easily do through JP and Rhonda, is distribute that kind of. Sylvia, you've got one, or you've got a question?
No, I'd had another question for Doug. Doug, when you talk about food groups, what are you referring to?
So they're like Cisco won't sell to us directly. We have to go through a buying group. So that's what basically they are. So Complete is a buying group. SGP Silver Group is a buying group. So they're buying groups that you have to be associated with in order to tap into the Ciscos of the world.
Okay, everyone should try Overweightia, because they're national and we've been using them.
What about food co-ops? Does anybody have involvement with them?
No, but that's another good idea.
And just to approach it from a different angle, we're approaching it from saving money. The other approach is trying to find ways of increasing our income in other areas. For example, we approached our city council because our taxes were $22,000 a year, and Saskatoon was paying about $9,000. And so we approached our city council and pointed out that, you know, due to inflation and COVID, we had run a deficit a couple of years ago, and we're breaking even now, but just barely. And they actually gave us a reduction in our taxes for 5 years. So instead of paying $22,000 a year, we're now paying about $5,500.
Bravo.
So if there's other ways that you can look at saving money, then that helps as well.
That's awesome, Sylvia. Great idea. And we'll segue into other expenses in just a sec, but that's a great introduction to that. I was going to ask, first of all, Larry, maybe you can, Overweightia, how do we spell that?
Exactly the way it
overweight.
sounds.
Overweight.
Yeah. It sounds odd. OVERWAITEA.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a huge national food distributor. We've had a lot of good luck with them.
Okay, great. Anything else before we move on from the food side? I mean, is anyone facing the reality that they have to change their meal preparation because of the food costs? I mean, I'm sure that's, when we talk about meat prices, especially, you know, is anyone having to take out some of the high-end food and supplement it? No. Okay, I don't see any. Oh, Judy, Prince Albert.
I was just going to say, we don't take out things, but we try to reincorporate any leftovers. We try to put them into something else. We try to buy large size roasts so we can get 2 or 3 meals out of them. I am an avid flyer shopper, so I am looking for the deals. I will sometimes go to 2 or 3 different stores in order to get those deals, just trying to save as many dollars as we can.
Yeah, I have one of my kids, one of my adult daughters, she's a big fan of the Jiffy app, and she claims that she saves $40, $50 every time she buys, not Jiffy, it's called Flip.
Flip app, yes.
she claims to save $40-50 with Flip every time she goes shopping because she gets the lowest. She finds the stores that will do price matching, and then she use the app and say, look, it's 50 cents cheaper at X store. Can you? And then they have to honor it. So that's kind of a good tool to use, for the smaller purchases when you're in the grocery store and whatnot.
I use that one a lot. We buy a lot of our groceries at Superstore, and I try to buy things that have the points. So we gather the points and get free groceries that way as well. So
Okay.
on average, I probably get a couple of $100 of free groceries a month as well.
That's excellent. And I think some outlets will also let you, utilize a certain credit card. If you want to use a credit card, you'll get extra points or extra savings.
Yeah, we have the President's Choice credit card, and we also get points for that. Every time we purchase anything on that, we get extra points.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah, because $200 here, $200 there goes a long way in the course of a year. Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, why don't we move on now? Go ahead, Larry.
Judy brought up a terrific point. I think there are people who take a lot of pleasure in this kind of bargain hunting, and I'm going to introduce the idea of having a shopping committee in Vancouver just to handle the food. It's a big enough item. I know it's well over $5,000 a month with us, and there are people who are almost, I would say, professional quality, right, Judy? There are people who just take a lot of pleasure in it and would be happy if they're doing it for themselves. Most people eat the same kind of food anyway. It's really using the same energy.
No,
I'm gonna look into this for our next meeting.
That's a great idea. Like if you find someone that, like my daughter, that loves to save 50 cents here, $1 there.
Exactly.
They can, you really does add up very quickly.
Certainly.
Yeah. Super. Well, thank you, everybody, for your input on that. So I think from our perspective, Abbeyfield Canada will put together, we'll track down a letter or two that, that houses are using for soliciting, lower pricing or whatnot. And then maybe we can put together some of these notes, things like, local bakeries, butchers, distribute buying groups for things like Cisco, and then perhaps like apps like Flip. We can kind of consolidate some of these ideas and then circulate them afterwards, so we can kind of take advantage of all the different ideas that have been put forward. Yeah, Larry?
Sorry, Tim, in that letter, there should be a space at the bottom for all the corporations that have that we've had some collaboration with. And I think this will inspire others once they see these names to sort of jump on board. Nobody likes to be the first one, So even if there's organizations in the West that don't exist in the East, you put on the letterhead anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yes, send up some peer pressure there.
Exactly. I wanted to put it nicer, but yes, exactly.
All right. So why don't we move over to other saving? Now, Sylvia had great, fantastic idea to pressure the municipality to reduce taxes. I mean, that's fantastic. That's a big ticket item.
Certainly is. It's a lot of food.
Yeah. What other things have people done in terms of, insurance, for example? Is there anybody have any luck with insurance in terms of finding better deals? I know insurance companies are not always that consumer friendly or Abbeyfield friendly, but Gord, can you help us out here?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. And Chris can help me out a little bit here too, but in the last year, we received proposed insurance premiums in excess of 20%. So we weren't happy with that. So we went to the market, talked to some other potential brokers, and we found a lot of interest from cooperators. So we, Abbeyfield Caledon did go with cooperators. We we saved in excess of $10,000 a year in premium. So I think our property general liability premiums now are about $8,100, and our D&O for the board is under $1,000, is about $950. So, you know, we went from a proposal of well in excess of $20,000 down to $9,000 and change. So we were pretty happy about that. And there is an opportunity. They actually did reach out to me recently to say, you know, now that they've got experience with Abbeyfield Caledon, would there be interest in a national group program? So I just wanted to throw that out to the group. If there is, I can certainly get it. Daniel and Justin from Cooperators in Oakville to reach out to Rhonda and JP, and they'd be happy to put a proposal together. So there are some significant savings that we've experienced. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with the group.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I mean, another 10K. I mean, you know, there seems to be some good opportunities out there. I mean, I know not everyone will be able to have the same scale of savings, but even if it's a couple $1,000, it's worth it.
That would be appreciated because our insurance fees have certainly been going up in the last few years.
It's our second highest fee, our second highest cost. We've been hit by a huge increase, and we are with actually Marsh, which is part of the BC Nonprofit Association, and certainly in Abbeyfield St. Andrews, we'd be very interested in an arrangement that would reduce our very, very high insurance costs.
So Linda, is it what kind? Is it all liability? Is it your property? Is it your D&O? What kind of insurances are going up?
Oh, well, the reason it went up, it doubled, more than doubled. We had a small claim, and it was just, I guess there's a $30,000 threshold somewhere at the time of our claim, and we were like 31,000 or something, and so it more than doubled, and then it's gone up several times since, just in the natural increase of things. And we tried to go to some alternate insurers, and we kept getting blocked back to, I mean, there was no advantage. And so if in fact there was an opportunity to take part in a program where we would receive good coverage and be at a reduced rate, we would be very interested.
Yeah, and that could, you know, be a possibility with if we were to put together some coalition of national program with cooperators or another entity. Maybe you could pool the risk and would reduce your risk and your costs. Larry, thanks, Linda.
Tim, I think people like I think Gord would agree. Why don't we reward Caledonia and give them a chance to bid on every Abbeyfield across the board? And this is another example of why aren't we sharing these things?
Nope, and that's why we're running these sessions, so we can share. I mean, these are great ideas. I think between the insurance and asking the municipality to reduce taxes, I think those two alone, are sort of low-hanging fruit that we can all kind of try to tap into. Rhonda, you have a question or?
Yeah, just that I have been in touch with. I had started a conversation with cooperators after Gord let us know that at our Ontario chapter meeting, and they do this kind of programming for already with other organizations like the Cooperative Housing Association. So they provide even to the tenant insurance level, like really limited costs for that. So they are definitely interested in talking about this in a way that they understand what a group might look like. I've called some other groups, I've talked to some other groups that want everyone to apply individually, and then they would give us a rate, which seems to be a bit of a working things backwards in terms of our point of view. So So we will continue working on that and happy to support the board's follow-up.
Great, thanks, Ron. I see
Tim,
Ian.
may I speak to that briefly?
Yeah, I've got Ian's got his hand up first, JP, and then we'll go over to you.
Yeah, very briefly to follow up on Linda and Larry. Our Vancouver, I looked at it, the insurance, it's just boilerplate from this BC nonprofit. And I don't think we've looked at it in detail or renegotiated it. And there's an opportunity for us, not just in Vancouver, but probably at least in all of BC, who's probably doing this, and then nationally. And the other thing that occurs to me is BC Automobile Association are very competitive, and they're, I think, a non-profit as well. But only BC, of course, but it might be worth investigating them as well as the cooperators nationally. Thank you.
Yeah, so BCAA is part of CAA, so where I work, and they're very community-minded, and as you know, in British Columbia, and the other CAA clubs will offer insurance. Now, we don't offer commercial insurance coast to coast, but I can certainly take this. We have an entity which is it does more commercial business. I will ask them. I'll approach them and see if they can maybe come with cooperators and provide some kind of competitive bid that maybe the houses might benefit from. Okay, we'll go to JP and then Larry.
Very simply, Tim, with our current business planning funding through December, this is an area where we could throw a little bit of financial support into getting to the right answer. We'll have to look at that, but I'm putting it together. We'll discuss it. So we can support this exercise. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, JP. Larry.
You know, Tim, if every Abbeyfield house sends a copy of their insurance policy to JP or any central place that JP decides is where it should go, this is something that should be shopped on a regular, routine, annual basis because of the fact that it's such a big ticket item. And if all of this is electronically done, it could be sent out to, I mean, there's just not that many insurers out there, and let them compete, because insurance companies, if anyone has a background in insurance, they have a certain percentage of business that they want in certain areas. And in order to get that, the only way to get that really, because it's the same product, insurance is they reduce the prices because they want to keep a certain balance. And the way to take advantage of that, and anyone in the insurance business will tell you, is just to keep us up front and say, can you beat this? Here's our coverage. And it's a very simple process to be done, and it should be done on a routine basis, at least once a year. Would you agree?
Good point, Larry. Yeah, if houses are willing to share their policies, certainly it's worth, you can certainly compare rates to coverage amounts, like determine, who's getting the best sort of bang for the buck, so to speak.
And we have strength in numbers, which we're not taking advantage of either.
Yeah, good point, Larry. Linda, do you have a comment?
I did. The BC chapter, within the last year and a half for sure, sent out a questionnaire, well, not a formal questionnaire, but a request for interest to all the BC houses to see if there was interest in doing some collaboration. And one of the items on the list was insurance. And there was no uptake to that. However, and when the few that I knew of that weren't interested in the insurance, and I say few only because I didn't know in detail from other houses, but some that I knew of, they had a relationship with their local broker, which they didn't want to lose. And they felt that they had, the arrangement they had was satisfactory. and they didn't want to separate out from that. So we would have to position this very attractively, I think, or at least have a fair number that were interested to come on, and then let it sell itself after that.
No, yeah, fair enough. I'm sure houses have relationships with their communities and their that they want to maintain. But maybe nothing to say the broker couldn't go to cooperators as an insurer of choice, or as an example. As an example,
there may be more motivation now than there was at that time.
Yeah, with the costs going up, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes, possibly. That's very true, Sylvia. It's interesting how things change.
I think we've covered insurance pretty well. I think we got some good ideas with that. Are there any other operating expenses that people, any other tidbits? Staffing costs, cleaning. Anybody have any tips as to what they've done to mitigate some of these expenses?
I'd just like to go back to the tax business. A few years ago, we approached our city to try and reduce our taxes, and they just shut us down, showed no interest at all. But then this time when we went, there was a new financial director, and she told us about a policy that the city has whereby they can reduce taxes for a period of time for nonprofits. And you have to meet the criteria of nonprofits and such. And that policy existed the first time we went too, but they had no interest in telling us about that. We knew nothing about it. So if you do go to your city and talk about taxes, ask specifically if they have a policy for reducing taxes for nonprofits.
Yeah, I can imagine. Thanks, Sylvia. I can imagine in some of the bigger, like Ottawa or Toronto, for example, if you went to your local councillor first, you might be able to get some headway there, and then with that sort of backing, get the city to help.
Yes, we went to our local councillor, who then met with us and the financial director, and that's where it went.
Great. Excellent. Bill?
Yeah, speaking of property taxes, we did get a reduction in Toronto. This was a few years ago, and it's still the case with garbage collection that we were able to get them to waive any fees for that. And that was actually quite a bit of savings that we've had, which goes hand in hand with the municipal taxes. So they're at the same local level. So while you're inquiring of property taxes, water and sewer and garbage would be another area that they might give reductions for.
Yeah, great idea. I hadn't thought of garbage or water and sewer, but you're right. We know those costs have gone up significantly in the last little while.
Yeah.
The only one that haven't gone up as much maybe is in Ontario anyway is electricity, because that's been kind of being quasi subsidized by the provincial government, but everything else has gone up. Any other thoughts on miscellaneous operating expenses and ways to tap into reducing them? Okay. Jim?
Yeah. Ottawa House has audited financial statements. We started that a couple of years ago because I think there was if your income was over 200,000, I think you were obliged to have your accounts audited, and we did. That's starting to cost a bit of money. I'm just wondering if other people are having their accounts audited. We were encouraged to keep doing it because of our success in getting grants, and we were told that if your accounts are audited, you have a much better chance of getting grants. Just curious what other houses have experienced there.
I see Sylvia, Bill, and Larry all no, Larry,
and Sylvia, go ahead. I could be last.
Okay, thanks, Sylvia.
Thanks. we have gotten a very good deal. We had to have a reviewer that only charges us $840 a year. And we were sort of teetering on the brink of having to have an audit versus a review. But now Revenue Canada has changed things and they have upped the amount whereby you have to have an audit. But at the same time, they have now made a requirement for your auditor or reviewer to be a CPA. And that, so in one hand they gave, the other they took it away, because if we have to use a CPA, we're going to be paying a lot more than what we've been paying now. And so we're not quite sure how we're going to handle that. You know, I think I'll follow up with Revenue Canada and say, you know, thanks on one hand, but you really screwed us on the other.
Well, good luck talking to Revenue Canada.
Yeah, I know.
Bill and then Larry.
Yes, we are required to have audited statements at the Toronto House because, as most of you probably know, we have a subsidy from the City of Toronto. So it has to be audited, and we have to fill out special forms for the City of Toronto that are, I'm going to say, pretty specialized. So we ended up getting an accountant several years ago that did a lot of these city audits and knew how to communicate with the government to fill out the forms. Because if you don't do it right, you get a lot of questions asked and going back and forth. Anyway, I will just say that the cost for that is certainly huge. I think including HST, it was probably about $6,500 last year, but we have to do it, and we do get, you know, a very substantial subsidy from the city. So I guess different houses have unique situations with regarding the audit. Certainly it would be great if we didn't have to do that. The cost would be reduced substantially, but there's where we're at.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Bill. So we're going to go with Larry, then Joe, then Gord. So Larry?
Yeah, I think, by the way, that Sylvia's general message is the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and we really have to be aggressive on all fronts. What I want to speak about as well, I didn't hear any category from you where this would fall into, Bill, but the federal government has poured in almost $200 billion over the next 10 years in their Better at Home program. This can be very helpful to all of our residents if it's handled properly, but home in the Better at Home program is finally being defined, allowing us and all our residents to consider their suite as their home. So there are a lot of opportunities there. As I move along, I'm going to send everything that I accomplished to JP, and he can distribute it through to all the Abbeyfields. Okay, I'll take that on myself. And that has to do with transportation. This has to do with anything that the residents require that's non-medical. So I'm going to explore this, and it will be any successes I have, which I am fully expecting, will be passed through JP and distributed through Abbeyfield Canada.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Larry.
Pleasure.
So we'll move to Joe, but I just want to welcome Kevin Skage, who joined us as well. Hey, Kevin.
Good afternoon. How are you guys? Are we? Did we start just at 12 o'clock, or did we get our numbers wrong?
Well, we started about an hour ago, so.
Well, then the instructions I got were timing was wrong. So apologies
Kevin,
for being an hour late, Rhonda. No
sorry,
problem.
Kevin, I did send an email out this morning because Saskatchewan
Doesn't change
Sylvia
this time.
reminded
change
me
time,
that you
that's
guys
right.
don't change your time, so that's what happened. So I did email everyone in Saskatchewan this morning to be aware of that. When I sent out the invoice or the invite regularly, we weren't even thinking about time changes, so I
Not a problem.
apologize for that, but
Not a
yeah,
problem.
did my best.
Apologies for being tardy. Nice to meet you, JP. I'd love a phone call sometime next week, and it'd be good to meet you all. Kevin Skog, thanks, here in
Thank you,
Saskatoon.
Kevin.
Bye for now.
Yeah, thanks.
Jimmy muted.
Sorry, we're going to go to Joe and then Gord.
Yeah, I'm going to defer to Gord. I expect he's talking about the same subject. I'm in the middle of a snowstorm driving, so I'll let him go.
Carlton, Ontario.
Gord, you can.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. So yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm back on the audited financial issue.
In,
Are we okay?
Ottawa and Kingston.
Larry's having a separate conversation. Anyway, the
I'm sorry.
I think it's okay. I think I just wanted to point out that I mean, there's a cost to auditing, but there's also an opportunity to have if you have audited financial statements. So recently, and thanks to Chris Blackmere, our treasurer, we did our first financial audit at Abbeyfield Canada. The reason we wanted to do it was so we would qualify to apply for the Community Services Development Grant, which we did file. So we did apply for over $60,000 to hire a volunteer coordinator on a part-time basis. So that grant application went in. But I guess our feeling at the board was, yeah, it's an extra expense to do it, but what are the potential opportunities to apply for other provincial and federal grants going forward? So that was really the motivation from our side. Just wanted to share that.
Was that a provincial grant?
This one, I think, Chris, was federal, was it not?
Yes, it was federal.
Yeah, thanks.
What's it called again, please?
I think that's closed now, but it was the Community Services Development Grant, I believe.
Okay.
I don't have it in front of me, but we can certainly share that.
Thanks.
Super. Thanks, Gord. Now, I'm conscious of the time. Does anybody have any other? Judy.
I was just going to say in regards to an auditor, something to consider. I do books for a different organization, and we approached a smaller firm auditing group, and they gave us a huge discount compared to one of the higher ones. We were at M&P, but we went to a smaller firm, and it was cut in almost a third the cost. So something to consider is just going to a smaller firm, because they can cut those costs for you.
Yeah, and I imagine with this financial statements are not overly complex with each of the houses, so I'm sure there's lots of room to cut the cost if they so choose. It's just finding the right firm or the right partner that will accommodate that. So great idea, Judy. Larry?
New accountant graduates who choose to go into practice for themselves will absolutely give you terrific discounts, again, because they want to use us as a reference for advancing their career. I've done this before. The accountant I use to this day is someone that I got from the day he graduated and went into his own business.
Oh,
and
good.
It's a lot of years.
Yeah,
It's a very, very good. And again, it's not, they don't know any less or any more than any other accountants. I don't think experience in auditing is necessarily worth paying a high profile firm.
Right. Yeah, good point. So looking at the time, the one other thing we thought we might touch on here, kind of related is employee assistance programs, and looking at, staffing is difficult across the country, and wages are going up, availability is going down, and Joe had mentioned in our sort of a pre-call how employee assistance programs can help retain staff, but providing an outlet for someone for them to contact if they're having stress in their lives or whatnot. I'm not sure, Joe, if you're able to elaborate on that in the middle of your snowstorm there.
Well, I'm off the road for a moment here, so that's good. And I don't know, I'm using my iPhone, so I'm not sure what you're seeing. But anyway, yeah, I've been recently involved with an organization and that's trying to set up for half a dozen employees, etc. And we went through the competition process, etc. And the prices that we were offered were very, very different, and in the comparison, the actual benefits were not. And it ended up actually, one of the organizations we ended up with is the Chamber of Commerce. And they were actually offering similar benefits at about a third to a half of the price, depending on what we were asking for. So it's an area too that, again, individually, we may have trouble doing that because of the small number of staff that we have, but collectively, we might be able to put together a very reasonable package and improve the support that we're giving to our staff at the same time. So that's where I was coming from on this discussion.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I think these programs that you're talking to are relatively low cost. They come with a 1-800 number that people can use when they feel they need the support, and they are a very good ancillary benefit that some of the people that work in our houses might not have if they were to go to a similar job in one of our competing entities. Does anybody else use this kind of service or looking into it? Yeah, I think this is something we can explore. Oh, Sylvia?
We had looked into it for our previous house coordinator, and because it was a cost shared, she decided not to take it. But I think the cost was fairly reasonable, but she just felt it wasn't worth it.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Most insurance, most coverage are shared costs, but it's certainly worth looking into if particularly if you're having trouble maintaining staff, and this might be a way to provide an added benefit to maybe keep them around a bit longer. Larry, you have a comment?
Yeah, I haven't discussed it with my board yet, but I've been working on a new model, which is basically tapping into the vast permanent part-time labor force. And I think that is just a tremendous resource for us. I will go back. In other words, rather than having coordinators the way we do now, managing the houses and doing all the administration, take the administration away from them, and rather than have a 5-day coordinator, manager, and then supplementing them with a 2-day part-time, I'm thinking of having 3 or 4 permanent part-times. And I just think that there's a tremendous workforce out there that we could keep young, fresh, and be able to renew them and not be stuck with ever having to replace a 5-day worker because of things like competition in the market, et cetera, et cetera. I've been working on this myself, and I will be presenting it to my board within the next couple of weeks. I'll let you know how it goes.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks,
You're
Larry.
welcome.
Sylvia?
Another idea besides providing benefits is simply increase the wage. You know, some people would appreciate that more than having benefits.
Yeah. I'm sure everyone would appreciate that. No, for sure. And you know, maybe that's an option. People can choose whether they want the benefits or if you're able to, a wage change increase. So we're kind of bumping up to the end here, but you know, for Kevin's benefit, you know, we've had some really good deliberations today, which we will kind of capture and send them out. So just kind of highlights we talked about on the food side. We talked about buying local, we tapping into local dairies or butchers to get better pricing. We talked about buying groups, perhaps. You know, Doug had some great examples from Durham where they partner with some other groups and able to access sort of more like dry goods, cereals and whatnot at better prices.
Yeah, and produce.
And produce, yeah, for sure. And then we talked about, you know, buying so-called substandard fruits and vegetables where, you know, the grocery stores are reluctant to put it on their shelves, but they have this produce which is just as good, but maybe doesn't quite look as pretty. That's kind of an idea for tapping into, you know, some reduced prices for fresh goods. And then we talked about the taxes. We had some brilliant success. Prince Albert, as one example of, you know, reducing property taxes just by asking the city. And I'm sure I'm making it sound simple. I'm sure there's more to it than just asking, but I mean, you know, great that you're able to achieve such a big reduction, like a $17,000 a year reduction. Similarly, we had another big win in, I think it was a Durham or Caledon, I can't remember, a tax reduction. I think it might have been Toronto. Anyway, sorry. And then we had some successes with insurance people, like using the cooperators or other entities and really reducing their insurance costs. So we're going to try to pool some of these policies, you know, and then we have cooperators as a start, look at some of the other houses and maybe try to find some ways to go in as a group and get some reduced pricing. What else did we do? And the other thing we talked about in the shopping was Larry suggested, you know, having a buying committee, you know, finding that right person or people that get a kick out of saving money, whether it's on the Flip app or other ways. You know, trying to find that person that is always out for a bargain that can kind of help with your food costs. And then Bill has a couple ideas too, like managed to save things on like garbage collection, maybe even water and sewer, just by asking the city for you know, a break for the not-for-profit entities that we have, and also the audited financial statements, trying to find audit partners that are maybe younger or smaller firms that are more apt to provide discounts to not-for-profits like Abbeyfield. So some really good ideas today. You know, I think, you know, we appreciate everybody dialing in today and sharing your ideas. And I think, you know, we'll look forward to having more of these kind of sessions throughout the year. You know, I think this is where we can all learn from one another. And this is, you know, one of the benefits of being part of a larger group is to share these best practices and work together for the benefit of our members, or you know, in all the houses. So anybody have any final comments before we wrap it up?
Very much appreciate the opportunity to listen and learn. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Kevin. All right. Well, Larry,
just a quick thing. You know, I'm so excited about that the amount of taxes that were recouped. You know, it's so easy to send a letter to all our municipalities that we're involved with, just to say it's come to our attention that many municipalities have a program to help nonprofits by reducing taxes, and make a call first, see where this is to be mailed to, and then follow up and follow up and follow up, because Judy says, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and these programs are hidden. There are many, many programs like that.
Yeah, so, along with sharing, a letter on.
Take the first step. Sorry, Tim, just let's get the ball rolling, right?
Yeah, we can share the letter on how we approach food distributors and outlets, but also share whatever we can on, how people are able to have success in saving taxes or garbage collections or anything like that. We can share all those ideas, and everyone can take a crack at it. And you won't win them all, but hopefully, you have to win one of them.
Exactly. No downside.
Great. I think we're gonna wrap it up. I see from Rhonda, the next meeting will be in May, and she's going to be sending the recording from this session to everyone, including the people that weren't able to make it today. So thanks, Rhonda, for that. Okay, everyone, have a great Saturday, and a great rest of the weekend.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay, please note there are some notes in the chat line that are valuable and affect us all. Please look at them before you close out, okay?
Yep. Thanks, Linda.